Hi everybody, Serena Cashmere here. Today we're going to be talking about Bridgerton, the new hit TV series on Netflix. I'm so excited about this show because so far my reviews have been things that I love, but I'm kind of late to the game for, and Bridgerton just came out on Christmas, so I'm finally watching something trendy at the time it was trendy. Anyway, so this show is produced by Shonda Rhimes and created by Chris Van Dusen. It is based on the novel series written by Julia Quinns. And let's just break down this show, shall we? I have to start out with this because this is just the most obvious thing that everyone I feel like picks up on. Rege-Jean Page, the actor who plays Simon. Woo! He is scrumptious. My mom was like, everybody thinks this dude is the next big thing. They think he's the new James Dean. Like, watch the show and tell me what you think. And I was like, he is magnificent. If you guys are familiar with the dancer Danny Tidwell, he was this amazing ballerina who was brothers with Travis Wall. He was on So You Think You Can Dance. Incredible dancer. Unfortunately, he died young. Anyway, I bring him up because Rege-Jean Page reminds me of Danny Tidwell so much. They're both beautiful to look at. They have like this posture and presence. Like when you watch Bridgerton, just watch the scenes where Simon's character just walks. Because every time he walks, it's like so dignified and it's like confident, and there's just nothing like it. He is in shape, he's muscular, he's handsome, like, ooh. I feel like that's the biggest thing that everyone's talking about right now is like, where did this guy come from? He is magnificent. Now let's talk about kind of the storylines of this show. When I first started watching it, I was kind of like, okay, interesting. It seemed like a Disney-fied version of Pride and Prejudice for a while. You know, there's all of these siblings and, you know, the oldest sister and the second oldest sister, they don't really see eye to eye. The older one is trying to be perfect all the time and is beautiful. And the second one is kind of like, I don't want to fit into these gender stereotypes and I just want to be myself. So that really played into it. And of course, like they both take place in Britain and they have, you know, suitors that they're trying to woo. But Bridgerton was more Disney-fied because at first it was like not that serious. There was a lot of comedy in there. The whole like opening title sequence has like beautiful colors, like it's gorgeous to look at, but there's like this beautiful, I think, what are they called, cherry trees or something, cherry blossom trees, like this pink tree. It just opens up and it says Bridgerton. Like, it also reminded me of the TV show You on Netflix, not because anyone's trying to kill anybody, like that's just not happening, but the steaminess in this show is so high. Like, just like when I watched You, I was like, oh my God. In fact, I was like Googling this right before the video, and apparently Bridgerton, like Netflix is having a hard time keeping the Bridgerton sex scenes off of porn sites because everyone is just like, oh, when they see it, it's intense. There's a whole lot of sex, especially the second half or like last third, and it's really good. It kind of reminded me of Spring Awakening, the musical, a little bit, just because there's a section where the daughter says to the mother, like, you didn't prepare me for married life, you didn't tell me how babies were born, and how do you expect me to be a good wife if I don't know that and nobody tells me, and I grow up my whole life playing the part, trying to get the guy, and then when I do, I'm left in the dark and I'm the idiot. And Spring Awakening is a much, much darker version of that. But before I saw this show, someone was telling me about that specific scene, and I was like, oh, is this like a reimagining of Spring Awakening? And then the last thing it reminds me of is Catherine the Great, which is this incredible show, so funny, with Elle Fanning. And it reminded me of this show because it's like similar time periods, and there's comedy, there's lightness, and the females in this show are taking control of their own power and feeling their strength, and it's focusing on the female characters who are trying to come into a higher rank and to be placed in a new environment that they're not used to, and to try to conform to all of the rules and manners that are expected of them. The show is so beautiful to look at. Like I said, with the opening sequence being beautiful, like all of the costumes are gorgeous. There's a line in the show where one of the Featherington girls says, "We're not gonna buy new dresses. Have we ever worn the same dress twice?" And it's a funny scene, but also like when you're actually watching the show, they wear a different dress practically every scene, and they're all gorgeous, like different colors. They've got sequins. The Featherington girls have feathers. They've got the corsets. It's really incredible to look at, and even the guys are nicely dressed. It's not just like a usual tux, but it'll be like brown with like a nice tie, and especially Rege-Jean Page playing Simon, they make him look scrumptious. The story also plays into certain archetypes. You know, there's like a shootout, there's the girl who saves the day between two men fighting. Like there's a lot of just archetypal stuff going on, and that can be kind of boring or annoying, or you're like, okay, you know, that's to be expected. And I would say that that's probably what I liked least about this show, is when it would play too far into those story situations we've seen too much. But they would kind of save the day by humor and trying to figure out who Lady Whistledown is, and then of course the main love interests. So you're still hooked, but there was quite a few times where it was like I was really hooked on the show and I wanted to keep going, but once those story turns had nothing unexpected, then I was kind of like, okay, I'll just be on my phone while I have this in the background. Something that surprised me when I looked this up after finishing the show was Nicola, who plays Penelope, or Pen as she's referred to on the show. She is actually in her 30s in real life, and she looks 15. So that was like a question I had when I was watching this show, is like, how old are these people really? Because especially the main character, Phoebe, who plays Daphne, I was like, she looks 12 and she's getting married, and like this is usual. Like I needed to know for my own sake, is she supposed to be 18 or like what is going on? So she's actually 25 in real life. So I was like, oh, okay, I feel much better about all of those sex scenes now. And then as far as Nicola being in her 30s, I'm like, you go girl, because not only does she look 15, but she also plays young totally convincingly. So she's gonna have a career for a long time. She's such a talented actress, and the reveal at the end is pretty fun. One weird thing about this show, which I'm curious to see if you guys agree or if you disagree, is that the storyline went by so fast. Like in one season, the main relationship went from just meeting each other to already having a kid. And I was like, isn't that the whole show? Like first season they meet, second season they date, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm curious, because they are going to do a second season, to see where this is going, and it is based off of novels, so I'm sure there's more story there. But I hope that the romance doesn't die, since we just saw everything happen to them. And the last thing I want to talk about here is the portrayals of women. I thought this was a really interesting take, because usually when we see like olden day British shows, especially when it comes to royalty, like the women have hardly any power, the men decide everything for them, and it can be really hard to watch. But this way that they did it acknowledged the place in society that women had, but it also gave them personal power. And they would say things like, oh, well, I can't go to school like you can, or all I can hope for is a husband. You know, they would say those things, but then they would still express their desires for something more. So the second oldest daughter, she talks about how wonderful it is to be Lady Whistledown, who has to disguise herself because she's a woman, but she has so much power in their society, and she's a writer, she has her own voice, she's taken seriously, and that's someone she looks up to. That she wants to be a businesswoman, and she wants to be taken as seriously as men. Daphne's character is pretty happy with the role she has in society. Like, she's not happy when the men try to dictate things in her life, like who she can marry and trying to hurt each other, kill each other. Like, she's not about that, and she expresses that, which is great. But she is very open about, I do want to get married and I do want to have kids, and that's what I want to devote my life to. So I thought it was great that they showed that, you know, women are people, and like, we're all over the spectrum. Some of us want only kids, some of us want only career, some of us want both. And in the end, if we can express ourselves and take power where we can and push our future forwards, like, that's all we want. Kind of an interesting thing that I think kind of slipped through without much notice is the Featheringtons are so worried about losing money and losing their place in society that when they finally do, they aren't super afraid. And I think one of these cool little reflections is that we're shown another widow who's a female, a mother, and she's actually well regarded in society. That was a good mirror for the Featheringtons to say, yes, this isn't ideal in that time and place. However, it can be done. You can still be happy and life goes on. Now, I couldn't finish this video without acknowledging Julie Andrews as the voiceover. I saw her name in the credits and I was like, Julie Andrews, like, I haven't seen her in forever. And apparently, like, she got a voice injury a really long time ago, and so she hasn't been able to sing, and she's been so depressed about it that she hasn't been part of many projects. But you know, if you've seen The Princess Diaries or any of her other films, you know, Sound of Music, you know this is an icon. She's so talented and we really want her in our lives. So the fact that she did the voiceover for this, it was so soothing. It made me feel like I was at home. It was natural. And I hope at some point we get to see her on the screen, but we'll just have to keep watching and wait for season 2. Thanks for watching, everybody. This was Media Mondays reviewing Bridgerton. Check back in next Monday for another review. Bye!